Welcome back to the Netman podcast. This is episode 11. Tonight we are going to be interviewing Jesse with Blue Rock Custom Tackle, Great Lakes Fishing Expo, Netman podcast. The list will keep going if
That's it.
we don't keep it under
Done.
control. And our wives keep us in check. So, no, I'm excited. We're going to talk Blue Rock, kind of where it's going, where it came from. And then I've got a handful of the baits sitting next to me that we'll get to show you guys if you're not familiar with it, and just talk about why I like them and why he makes them the way he does. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, listen, guys, that helps us tremendously. Click that little button. We promise that the only thing you're going to get is just a little alert that just says, hey, new episode's out. We release episodes every Sunday night, Monday morning. So that way, when you start your week, there's a fresh episode there. Hit that button for us. Leave us a comment of what you'd like to hear, or who you'd like to hear, or just anything we can do better for you guys, because that's ultimately what we're here for. Just give you guys content that helps you grow as anglers and just really enjoy the sport. So here we go. Jesse, I'd say thanks for coming on, but you're always on.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
so,
humbled. Worthy. I'm humbled to be a worthy guest.
right. um, Take us to the roots of Blue Rock, because you call yourself a little bait maker, but you're really kind of outgrowing that title. But tell us about when you were just a young little lad pouring baits, uh, and kind of why you got started doing what you're doing.
Oh man. Yeah. It's geez. I mean, I wasn't really doing it as a little lad. It was something that probably took place of all the extracurriculars I used to do when I was in high school and sports and everything else. I mean, I fished and hunted all the way since I can remember, but um, just it kind of became a hobby there, and maybe my late teens, really early 20s, just naturally. We talked about in our very first episode. I just me and dad got into tournaments a lot harder after I graduated high school, and us bass fishermen just naturally started tinkering with baits and started buying some do it molds, and one thing kind of led to another. Man, it's really weird when you think about it, um, and how fast time goes.
What
Um,
uh, what was one of the first molds or baits that you're like, hey,
yep,
I've got an itch that I need to scratch. Like,
yep.
what am I going to make or tweak or whatever?
Yep, I remember, very vividly. It was a do it, just a shaky head, like a stand-up shaky head mold, with a screw lock keeper. There's a lake, near the house here called Dillon Lake, and, it's just a really known shaky head, small tube, Ned. It's one of those really pressured, little mud puddle lakes that those little finesse style baits work, and um, there's a lot of rip rap in areas, so I just was losing a ton of baits, so I was like, I'm just going to start making my own, and it kind of caught. It kind of went from that to having a little bit of success in the tournaments and the Wednesday nighters, sharing some baits with some buddies, and then end up selling a few or whatever, and make a little profit, and bought another mold, and I just kept doing it and kept doing it, until I ended up with 40 or 50 molds probably at one point. I mean, I've sold some of it off, and just you know try not to have too much clutter as we've grown. Now we do spin cast, um, which we can go into whatever you however you want to go into it, Aaron. But like that's pretty much how it started, man. Just a hobby. Uh, Started hustling some stuff to some buddies, and um, then I, decided at one point, maybe again at probably my early 20s, I was like, I think I can make enough doing this to, you know, cover my tournament costs, which I know is what a ton of small bait makers' goal is: cover their fishing costs, sell some
Yeah,
baits,
just
and
start out and
yeah.
kind of
So so
feed the hobby or whatever.
yeah, and somewhere between there and now, something happened that I couldn't control where it just, um, you know, once I decided I was going to try to make a little bit of money, like, um, which don't get me wrong, it still feels like I'm just making a little bit of money, which anybody that's in small business knows as you grow, there's bigger investments. You know, we run a legal business, we pay taxes on everything. So it's the brand has definitely become a lot more aware. Um, and people are starting to know who we are, but like, it's still just a small business. And that's not, that's not me being humble. It's literally just, um, but I take pride in being a small business owner. So, I mean, um,
Uh, so I'd say right about when the Alabama rig came out and Paul Elias won the tournament, just blew away the field on it. Um, they were hard to find. Uh, and when you could find them, I mean, they were asking $30 plus a piece, which, I mean, in today's swim bait market, like that's cheap. But I mean, back then, this had to be what 2012 ish. Um, I ordered my first Do It mold in a little hand poured melting pot. Uh, and a jig head, minnow shape jig, whatever. Um, and I carved it out with a Dremel and started making my own Alabama rigs and just airbrushing them actually pretty badly. But I was selling them on eBay for 15, $20 a piece. And dude, I made a killing.
yeah,
And, but I never had the desire or the itch to have a tackle company, a bait making company. Um, yeah, and obviously we're partners in a couple different things, and I mean business and being a small business owner has always been a part of who I am and what I wanted to do. But at some point, like you making shaky heads, uh like like at what point did you desire to like, hey, let me sell this to guys in my club or guys around the house, and at what point did they want to start buying them from you?
well, um, I'd say I just, BSing around the boat ramp, a weeknight tournament, which I think me and my dad probably for 10 years straight, didn't miss a Wednesday night derby at Dillon. So everybody's really close. You get there an hour early, stand around BSing, and you know, I'd say just gave a couple to some buddies to try out and told them I was making them at first. And then, a buddy being a buddy come back, said, hey, here's $20, make me however many you can. And that's how it all starts. But the evolution of my business, like it kind of hit right there when the Ned rig was, kind of coming. I don't what do you how do you say that? Just coming to the surface, like as um, a Midwest secret,
Yeah, really
and
kind of a category that's been around forever, but really just
right,
at some point gained a whole
yeah,
bunch of steam and kind of came into its own kind of category of
yeah.
its
and there's a little, I think Arky brand or someone makes a little kind of a mushroom shaped head. It's absolute garbage, uh, like a bronze hook. But um, I bought a few, and like that was kind of my first. It just looked like a Ned kind of style hook, but anyways, that kind of evolved and got my wheels turning. Um, to create what evolved into the triple threat jig. And um, I don't know, like I would never go out and say like I was the first one doing it, but like I had to be one of the very first people to put a collar on a net and start tying that little skirt on it. And was throwing it, was catching some really good smallmouth here locally on Alum Creek and stuff. And um, I had a young man helping me in my shop, Kobe Thompson. He he ended up winning a couple like high school state championships throwing. I think one year he won it like exclusively on that little jig. And I told his dad Casey, who's a good friend of mine, I was like, dude, we're gonna have to start selling these because we were just throwing it kind of. It was still kind of a hobby more than a business at that point, but um, anyways, I had a custom mold made, and the triple threat was that first bait that like started making me like money. Like it was something that you just couldn't go buy on lure parts online and sell. So people see that bait's how me and Wetney met. Like he saw that's how me and you met. So it's been an awesome little bait, like an icebreaker for me, just especially back then. People would see it and they're like, "Man, this," and then they'd throw it, and obviously it catches some fish. So then we just kept evolving. We took that spinner bait and kind of modified it and put a good keeper on it and a good hook, and it's a good seller for us. And we've kind of just evolved into this. I don't want to say throwback brand, but I feel like I hope when people see our brand, they just see like a solid, dependable, like no nonsense, no gimmick. Like that's kind of what I want to be seen as, like just that trusty uh, American made product.
Well, and I'm biased, of course, but um, like I think that dependable brand is really one of the things that I think a lot of guys appreciate because I've traveled with you to expos around the country, and um, there's something that draws guys into the racks just a little bit closer. Like they see it on the shelf, and it's all the basic colors, nothing real flashy or in your face. Um, but you can just tell from a distance that it's quality components. Like your blades aren't tarnished, they're not all scratched and beat up. Your skirts are kind of what you'd expect to see. But one of the big differences that I appreciate is like all your baits, all your jigs and spinner baits and stuff. You use a copper wire to keep the skirts on, and I think that's just really a testament to what you're saying. Like you took all these kind of basic things that have been around for years or decades, and really just put the best quality components into it uh, and assembly into it that you possibly could. Um, and so, uh, at what point were you like, let's talk about the skirt and tying it on with copper. Like, I mean, everyone gets tired of the bands dry rotting and the skirts falling off after a year in the box.
Yeah, yeah. That was just kind of one of them, back to the hobby days, kind of a personal preference thing again. And um, you see quite a few copper wire ties now. But then it wasn't, 8 or 9 years ago when I started doing it. You didn't see it, to my knowledge, really anywhere. But
Definitely
it's
not off the shelf at a store.
right. it's a little more expensive, takes a little bit longer to do, but it was just one of those things, like, if I was making myself a dozen spinner baits to throw in my boat, for personal use, like, I was gonna make them good, and it all kind of evolved the same way, as, the shaky heads to the triple threat, and, living in the little region I do here in Ohio, spinner baits are just, the river, the Muskingum and the Ohio River, and these little stained lakes around here, like, you gotta have a good quality compact spinner bait, and, so our quarter, 3/8, and half are all fairly compact, when you put them up to the standard, like a half-ounce spinnerbait,
Like a booyah, like
that's
the arm on it's
yeah, right, yeah, but, that's a southern thing, but you take our stuff down south to some of these shows, and a lot of these guys see these compact 3/8 and half-ounce spinnerbaits, and, they love them. So, everything has its spot, man, like, we don't have, like, and I've never have never, like, marketed us to be, like, this innovative, cutting edge, um, you know, reinvent the wheel type business. Dude, I'm just a I'm just a dumb redneck, that just likes nice stuff. Like,
right.
it's not rocket science. We've found a way to make friends and make customers, which has definitely set us apart from uh, a lot of people that have tried to make it in this. Like, it's a tough little business, man, and sadly enough, it just takes so many years to start making some actual just decent money. Like, it's just not worth it to a lot of guys, and I get it 100%. I I just must enjoy uh, you know suffering more than others to go.
Well,
We've had these talks, like, just
yeah.
trying to get to the point where we've gotten, but
Now,
um,
would you agree that there's really kinda the guys that are kinda in their garages or in their little shops making baits, trying to basically do the exact same thing you're doing. There's 2 kinda camps. There's the guys that either just like tinkering, um, and they want a business, but they don't really know kind of the direction they're going other than just to kinda emulate what else is
right,
going on in the market or try to improve upon that. But then the other camp is what I would say is guys like yourself that, "Hey, I want a spinner bait that the skirt's not gonna fall off," or, like in this case, your spinner bait has a thinner, wire diameter than what you would typically find, um, or a quality swivel, swivels don't get any better. Um,
yeah. I mean, it's other than buying, like, a Sampo swivel or something, like, but that's one of
right,
them things. It's like, then you can't make money. You can't have a business if you're buying, dollar, $2 components. That's a purist item there. Like,
right.
that's a, hobby, high-end craft. It it's just, like, you're talking about the basement, which ironically, I'm sitting in my basement right now. I don't make bait. I made baits in my basement for a few years until I could justify, like, dedicating the basically our shop's just a 34 or 36 by 48 pole barn now, but um I think a lot of those guys that are this in the same boat I was, um a lot of people miss on just the branding side of it, in my opinion. And I've told, at these shows, I get several just younger fellows and guys in general that just make baits and want to know, kind of how we've grown just to where we've grown. And it's like, I'm always talking like it's branding, branding, branding. Like, you've got to find a brand and like a direction. Like, what do you want people to see you as? Like, to some extent, like it's almost just as or maybe more important than your products. Uh, because you can have you could be making the best spinnerbait in America in your basement, but if your brand name is, you know,
Bob
uh,
Spades, like,
Jim Bob's Lunker Lure, like
right.
it's not going to like there's a ceiling there. And I'm not, knocking if there's a brand named Jim Bob's Lunker Lure, but like
Shout out to Jim
that
Bob, we'll have you on.
that's well, it's just the thing that jumps out to me the most, like where a lot of fellas like limit themselves. Maybe it's like a corny, perverted novelty name, which ironically, like we started as French Tickler Lures. My last name's French, and uh, you know, we got to a point where uh, I created the legal business name as French Tickler, and I think we had it for 2 or 3 years, and we were selling stuff, but I didn't want to be known as, like, a goofy novelty name that's, sadly enough, also known as a sex toy, but, uh, I started calling expos to get in, and they're like, Is this is this a prank call?" I remember, like, a guy, like, laughed at me, and I was like, "Okay," like, I'm I take my fishing seriously, like, I'm not this isn't what if I'm gonna keep doing this, like, we gotta make an adjustment. So, the little region of the state that I live in is called Blue Rock, and, honestly, man, looking back now, like, thank God we picked that. I really, really went back and forth a lot. Like, I knew I was gonna change the name, but I didn't know, like, Blue Rock resonates to people for some reason or another. Like, it's just it's a cool name or a cool logo, and I'm so glad we picked it because I took a lot of flack at first. Like the old Tickler diehards, man, they were not happy with me when I switched the name. But
All
you
those baby
know,
boomers.
w I saw early, like, I was gonna limit I was gonna
Yeah,
ceiling myself with that name, and, funny only lasts so long. Like, it was
yeah.
cool, but I think I kinda ran its course perfect and, like, transitioned to something, like, that I just wanted to be a little more serious. Not that I'm a super serious guy, I keep it pretty laid back and easy going, but,
No,
I
but the branding side, it's a lot more than just the name, right? Like, you gotta have something that either isn't gonna offend somebody or has purpose and meaning or is just, vanilla enough that people don't really care, right? So, like,
right.
for the guys down around the house, Blue Rock, it means something to them, but for me up here, like, I never even heard of the Blue Rock, I don't know, State Forest or State Park or whatever it
Right.
is, until we met, and so, like, Blue Rock didn't have any meaning to me other than it was just vanilla enough that I didn't really care and I wasn't bothered by it. But I
Yeah.
think from the branding standpoint, like, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's something that you've got to be able to stand behind, and it's got to have purpose, beyond the name, and you got to really believe in what you're doing and the products you're putting out. And I think
Yeah.
that's where, uh, I've seen your successes, um, as we've talked and kind of brainstormed some bait designs and new products. Uh, the thing you always come back to is I don't want it to be gimmicky. I want it to be
Right.
something that I believe in, and I don't have to sell it because I say it has 200% more vibration, or
Yeah.
these extra 2 inches of skirt strands are gonna do such and such to attract a fish, right? Like, um,
Yep.
and so that quality component is part of your brand and what you've created.
Yep. I saw, like, when COVID happened, going back to the kind of the story of the evolution of my business, which I'm going to jump around here for a minute, but I wanted to tell this story because you were just talking kind of the gimmicky stuff, and but anyways, I had been like a legal business, I think, for right around 5 years, and I was literally uh, working. I was working for ODOT, and I worked at a water department before that. Just basically had some couple water treatment licenses, and um, it was a small department, so we fixed leaks and on call and all that. Just typical blue collar stuff, but ended up like leaving there because I was getting uh, I was getting busy making baits, and like ODOT was more appealing because you can build up a ton of comp time and stuff. So I worked at ODOT one winter, but what I found quick with ODOT was like snow and ice, when like the one time a year they expect you to be there is trade show season, and my business is still growing, and like I do not like to be the guy at the shop that's like leaving the boys hanging, like, "Hey, I'm going to, you know, Alabama or Tennessee for a show and there's a snowstorm coming." Because that's just kind of the time of year you gotta be there. So I worked through it for one winter. It really like took a toll on me because I don't like being that guy like that was letting the boys at work down, which it was just a couple different times, but like I kind of set a goal in my head. I was like, I either got to figure out, because I'm coming home from work at this point and going to the shop till 10 o'clock every night, getting up 4 in the morning. And it really, it's like somewhat taking a toll on, me and Sid's relationship at this point too. Which she's been supportive the whole way, but she's just like, because I'd started talking about like, you think I could do this, and making pretty pretty damn good side hustle at that point. And she finally just said, like, "Hey, I'm I'm in. Like, I know you'll find a way to pay the bills, but with all due respect, like, make a decision because I'm tired of you, like, you know, making yourself miserable wondering." So she basically gave me her grace and was like, "I know you'll find a way to support us even if it doesn't work." So, um, fast forward a little bit, we go to Columbus that year and just have a dynamite show. Like we made like a double jump of what, I mean, it was a substantial amount of money for me at that point, and I'm looking at how long it takes me to make that at my day job, and I just decided I was going to go talk to my county manager, and I went and told him like, "Hey, this is," and they all knew, what I had going too, but put in my 2 weeks, and like the funniest thing ever is like, oh, I think a week into that 2 weeks, the federal mandates for COVID came down. And I've told this story on a couple podcasts, but I'm just like, good God, man, like
Dumbest thing I've ever
only
done.
me, yeah, the whole world's gonna shut down, and I just quit a good stable job that, like, a lot of guys, just a lot of good fellas would just kill to have, and here I am, which granted, I'm pretty sure Phil, woulda hired me back, just good dude, like, our county manager, he knew I had a young family, and, but, it ended up being awesome. Like, we had to get creative that year and started the subscription boxes and stuff, but like our online sales kind of doubled that year, just from COVID. And but kind of circling back now, like to to the gimmicky stuff. Like because of COVID, I've seen a ton of companies just make a ton of money on selling just stuff to like these kind of naive new to fish. So many people came to the outdoors for COVID. Like that's why the sales doubled. But you go to a lot of these shows and even online you'll see Facebook ads and stuff, and like people are just eating this stuff up, and it's like absolute garbage, some of it. But
Well, I mean,
um,
I get sucked in those wormholes.
oh
Um,
yeah,
I was I was just at Fisherman Central a couple weeks ago, and they had is it Nori's powder, whatever
yeah,
that new bait powder is, that he's using, and those little fuzzy dice baits. Like it,
yeah, and like
it's hard because you can't deny that they're not catching fish on them because they are.
right,
But it's
right.
like I don't know. Like, do we really need fuzzy dice?
Well, it's tough for me because, dude, like I'm a junkie as well. Like I'm more talking about, uh, geez, and I don't even know. Like I don't want to throw people under the bus, but
Let's do it. That's what we're here
like,
for.
no, I don't know. There's just things that you see, like, um, the dice cubes and stuff, like stuff that you see like on the elite tour, like working. And I am like, you mentioned fish attractants, which I don't want to get off course and just start talking about tackle in general, but like I'm a sucker for all of it too. But like, um, there's just there's a lot of guys that, you know, may not quite know what they're buying, and can get suckered into, um, maybe the dice cube does work, and I know it does in a lot of situations. But like, I guess an example for me would be like, why convince a kid to buy $300 worth of them? Like that's
Right.
kind of more what I'm talking about. Like, and you see a lot of this stuff at the shows, and um, I don't know, because like depending on where you live, maybe they don't work, but uh,
Well,
yeah,
it's like, I mean, forward-facing sonar, obviously, the last handful of years has really uh, kind of catapulted itself into the industry with the production of different types of baits to kind of optimize that. And it's like everyone's trying to be innovative and come out with their own little product to kind of capture their slice of that pie. But along with that is like there's only so many minnow shaped baits
yeah,
that are different, right? Like, I mean, for the most part,
yeah.
it's all just basically like a
Yeah, I
Zoom
mean that.
flute that's just
Yeah,
been tweaked to either fall a little bit different or whatever.
right. Well, y- that's that evolution stuff there, and the minnows and forward facing stuff. Like that's like a whole polarizing topic, like industry wide, as in itself. Like there's renowned crankbait companies that have been around for decades that aren't even releasing a new crankbait this year because
Because
their
they
new
gotta
soft
jump on
plastic line.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and like again, I'm not gonna throw any names out there. I just don't want drama, but like, and the thing about it is like crankbaits aren't going anywhere. Like
right.
we're all, but there may be a law and and certain techniques or this or that, but like the way things are going to evolve, like there's going to be places to, you know, not use forward facing. There's going to be places to use it. Like, and just an example here in Ohio, like there's really not a ton of lakes, especially in this little region, that it's a huge player. Like we're still going to be cranking and spinner baiting and buzz baiting and flipping. Like it's river fishing, but there are regions of the country where literally guys are have to buy a couple packs of minnows and a pack of jig heads, and they can go catch 40, 50 fish. Like that's a big problem. If you're in that region. Thankfully, We live in a little region and have an awesome local customer base, um, that's continuing to grow us, just because it's not like forward facing dominant right
Right.
in this little region of the country.
So as a business owner in the tackle industry, how do you maintain the steady tried and true baits, but also like balance like, hey, forward facing, it is what it is right now. Like, how do you balance like sticking to what you do versus trying to grab a piece of that pie and come out with new stuff that you believe in, and because it's a process. It's not like something you can just have a bait overnight.
Yeah, yeah, it's tricky. Um, I was telling another fella, kind of, he asked me the same question not too long ago, and like my best way to answer it for me personally, is like I feel like we're a young enough company where we're still like building a foundation and growing on what we have. And like I want to keep evolving into new stuff, but I also don't want to chase every trend that happens, because there's a new trend like every, if not every year, every 2 years. You mentioned the Alabama rig, you got glide baits, you got dice cubes, you got minnows, and guess what, next year it's going to be some little humdinger rig that, um but I feel like the path I'm trying to continue to take, and like I feel like I'm still young enough. It seems like a lot of guys like start making tackle and get really into it in like their mid late 50s, and I feel like I have a good like 15, 20 years to keep building a good foundation, just cuz I took that risk when I was a little bit younger. And I don't have to like rush, I don't need to try to make a bajillion dollars, because I feel like if a slow growing business is a stronger business long term, which there's nothing wrong with a fast growing business, but thankfully we've kind of been able to do everything to this point, without borrowing a ton of money, and don't have a lot of stress in that manner, just because we've done it slowly over 7, 8, 9 years, and just continue to reinvest and worked my day job as long as I possibly could, and I continue to hustle and do other things to try to supplement my income as well. With with the expo and other things. Like I'm not too proud to just try to provide as much income
Stability.
for my
Yeah.
family as I can. Like we're just average Joe, hardworking Americans, like everybody. We're just
Yeah.
trying to live. You
Um,
you and me, really.
so like we've all seen products that have hit the market, like the chatterbait, right? Like
Hmm.
the chatterbait, by sticking a flat blade on the front of a jig, created a category of its own. Like, uh, and there's probably thousands and thousands of bait makers or companies that have kind of created their own version of that within the
Yeah.
parameters that they were allowed because of patents and whatever. Um, and it's not very often that you see a bait or a bait category have something that's like just truly innovative, um, like the chatterbait, the Alabama rig, or even just a modification to an existing bait. Um, how often do you just lay in bed thinking about like what you can do different?
Oh
Not
man.
not to copy, but
No,
just
like
idea.
find that unicorn.
Yeah,
Dude, a ton, like, and that's kind of what I've run into lately, that like it it bothers me, but at the same time, it's like, so the business is on growing and keeping me fairly busy, like, on just kind of those staple solid products that we have. And I don't a lot of days just have time to just sit down and just tinker for 8 hours like I did when it was a hobby.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. It really does. But on a daily basis, I'm thinking like constantly, like, what is it? What could I do? What little weird blade could I invent to, the chatterbait? That's such a good example, man. Like that bait, and the way they got it patented and just cornered the market. Like I don't even. It's insane the amount of money that bait has probably made them, and how much money that bait has won anglers.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've won a lot of money throwing a chatterbait. Like, it's just one of those baits that just catches fish. So, dude, I've got, and you get ideas and bounce them off of me, and I I don't know. Like, we'll hit one at some point. I don't feel like the stars have aligned yet, and I'm a firm believer of, like, patience and, like, when it's all supposed to happen, it will, but, uh, I just don't know what it quite is
Now,
yet.
are you the type of guy though that like you're creative and you can just come up with these off the wall ideas, or do you like really have to see a hole in a product line or an issue with like the shaky head, right? Like you wanted something that could help you catch a few more fish on a bait, and so the screw keeper was a big deal, and you
Yeah.
just couldn't find it, so you came up with it yourself.
Dude, like, honestly, sadly, to this point, like, I've kinda grown our whole business on just, like, stuff that I had I've had a little bit of local tournament success just in clubs, and a little bit, done decent in a couple BFLs around the region and stuff. Um, but I've really just based my business off of, like, things I was catching fish on, and, I was like, "Well, it's winning me a little money, like, might as well, try to sell a few," and I
Yeah.
feel like that's if it's like a tried and true, like, solid bait, it just has worked for me to this point, and, like, that's why I stay away from that gimmicky stuff a lot, like, not even, like, maybe, you've showed me things or drawn things, and I'm like, "Eh," maybe I'm just set in my ways, but you know, I haven't tried it, I haven't done it, like, and that's just not something I'm not just gonna create a product and just start selling it to
Where
hope
you have
it.
to right, where and you really gotta pitch it to someone like, "Hey, this
Yeah.
is why this is the best," or,
Well,
uh
and sadly, like, when you're as small as me, like, you can't afford to miss a lot like that. Like,
right.
it's not cheap to have these big production molds made, and, the equipment to do it and everything, so, like, I think I've just made, like, safe, solid plays to this point, and it's working, like, um, we haven't ever had a year in our existence, like, where we haven't grown a little bit in revenue, like, it hasn't always been, like, the COVID year, but, like, we've grown every year. We've grown in inventory, we've grown in sales, we've grown in customers, we've shipped. I just made a post, last week or so, but, we've shipped to every state in the lower 48. We've got a pretty solid social media following. Like, I have started to, like, accept the fact that, like, um, you know, maybe our stuff is decent. Like, because there's been a while, like, I hear Kurt Geyer on Working Class Bowhunter podcast talk about like imposter syndrome. Like you feel like,
Yeah,
even if you're creating something that's cool, like you're still you just downplay it and you're like, I don't know, like I probably still don't belong or I don't fit in or it's not as good as the industry standard. But like each year, the compliments at the shows and there's going to be that 1 in 100 guy that had a negative experience and maybe he did get a defective product. But like I've kind of come to terms now, like if you're moving thousands of products or tens of
can't be
thousands of
that bad.
products through the year, like, yeah, like, well, it's just plain and simple. Like every once in a while, you might have a bad apple, but all you can do is, hey, I'm sorry that one messed up. Here's a couple new ones on me.
Yeah,
Sorry, you know, please stick with us. Like we're just trying our best here. So, and most people understand it. Customer service and being there for your customers is the only way to grow. In my opinion, I mean, it's just y- Amazon has created this. You have to be fast. You have to, be ready and willing to answer questions at all times. Like, so they kind of set a standard that you have to keep up with, but
yeah.
it's
Um,
just the way it
well,
is.
so so going back, uh, at some point you took a leap and say, you know what, I've got to get a custom mold made. And then you took another leap and said, you know, I'm going to get a spin cast machine because the quality of the pores is better. I can produce more at a time. You upgraded your shop. You've come out with more custom molds since. Um, do you feel like that's a natural evolution, especially for someone bootstrapping it, right? Like you're
Yeah.
taking what you got and reinvesting it. And
Yeah.
how much of that contributes to the success versus just baby steps towards growth? Like, do you think there is something to, uh, I guess, that level of production or the quality that a spin cast can make versus a hand poured, that a lot of guys are just missing out or just are too afraid to take
Yeah.
that?
Um, I think the too afraid thing like goes back to um I feel like a lot of guys that get into this just seem naturally a little bit further along in life, like they may be 50, 55 years old. And I think I was like, I got into the hobby like just a little bit like on the younger side. So maybe out of just being a little younger and more naive, like I could justify taking a dumb risk. Cause like, if you think about it like this, like say you're 55 years old, well, you're looking at what, 7, 10 years to retirement. Like maybe you don't justify like, oh, I'm not going to spend 10 grand on a spin cast setup. Like, by that point, they're making good money at their day job. They're in way too deep
Right.
to try to make a new progression. Like their pensions are built. But where I was like,
I've got 30 more years to make up that
yeah,
10
I've
grand.
got 25 to 30 more years, and I'm thinking like you wake up every morning, typical blue collar worker, try to stretch your freaking back out and your knees, and you get out of bed and you're like, God, I don't want to go in here and listen to this, you know, dipshit boss again or whatever you got going on at work.
Yeah.
And like, I just kind of got to a point where I was like, like maybe my wife was right. Like, if it wasn't working, I could always go back to work. But in the back of your head, you're like, don't let failure ever enter. But
Yeah.
um, because I mean, sadly enough, it's a small business. It could all end tomorrow.
Well, I mean, it's been said forever, you got to spend money to make money, right? And
Right.
like, if you're not investing what you have to
Yeah.
grow,
Yeah.
like, you're just going to stay
Now,
exactly where you are.
I mean, circling back to your progression question, man, like little weird things have happened along the way, like, uh, just to, like I'm a man of faith, not, like, as, serious about it as you, but, like, little things have happened that, like, almost tell me, like, it's a sign just to keep going. Um, like the progression thing, I kinda was forced into buying the spin cast stuff because I wasn't doing that when COVID happened, when I was still pouring out of, a lot of open closed molds when I was thinking about leaving my day job. And looking back now, I'm like, what in the hell was I even thinking? But COVID happened and the company that um basically I had purchased production molds, but the company that could use them with the equipment was in a state that was not an essential business. So the person that was supplying me with hooks and everything shut down and basically forced me into buying all that equipment, or I was screwed.
You're shutting down, yeah.
Yeah, so I quit my job, COVID starts, I'm scrambling around on the internet trying to find a spin cast, learn how to do it, all this stuff at one time. And I find this guy and basically, good enough guy, like talk me through what I needed. Didn't feel like I was getting ripped off too bad. And a week later, a freaking semi truck drops off two skids in my driveway, a big uh, lead pot furnace and a spin cast machine. It's like, well, I guess we gotta learn to use this and try to make our money back. But like looking back now, like I said, it happened for a reason. Like because now we put it to use. Like then we didn't quite so much need it, rather than to just make sure we could keep making some jig heads. But I mean, uh, we pour quite frequently with it now. I mean, at a minimum, we're spending 2 days a week, especially this time of year, and then the other 3 days, there's just tons of packaging and assembly and stuff that goes on, which we've
Well,
got some helpers and stuff.
I'm gonna post some pictures on this video, um, because you post them on your social media, but, like, when you pour spinner baits, I mean, it's hundreds. Like,
Yeah,
you're not pouring 10 at a time, letting them cool, taking them out of the mold. Like, it's
yeah,
it's hundreds, or same
yeah,
with jigs. Um, and so, like, I guess I kinda already know the answer before I ask it, or at least I feel like I know how you're gonna answer it. But, like, when you're producing that much and you're selling that much and you're having success at shows, at some point you gotta feel like, "Man, I've made it." Like, I quit my day job, I'm making a decent living, I'm providing for my family, and, um but was there a point where you're like, "I've got this," like, I'm where I wanna be, or at least on the right path? Like, was there a key moment that
yeah.
kinda sunk in for you?
I mean, not really, man. I don't think any guy that's geared like me or you would ever just stop whatever we're doing and say, "Man, I've made it." Like we always seem to want more, whether I don't even think that word more means money. I think we just always want a new challenge almost.
Yeah,
Like just, "Hey, let's see if we can start a fishing expo," or, "Hey, let's see if we can design our own soft plastic mold," or, start an archery company or whatever the hell. Uh, so,
whatever that
you
next
know,
challenge is, yeah.
I think I'm just now, like, this past especially this like, the beginning of this year has been great, man. Like, sales are as good as they've ever been. Websites sales are up substantially. We've added several, we're continuously adding um, new retail stores, good solid stores too, not gas stations and, just good places where like good fishermen are. So it's it's not like a feeling of I've made it. It's more a feeling of like, hey, I think it's going to be all right. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like we've made it, but if it can be at a place where I'm like, all right, man, well, if something dramatic or traumatic happened to me and there's enough there, you know, in the business to sell and take care of, God forbid if I died or whatever, like if the family was good with all the expenses and they got something out of it, like that to me is making it like to where this little adventure I've been going on like isn't a burden if something ever happens to me. Like, because
Yeah.
while I'm here and kicking, like I'll make do for everybody, but like, um, I don't know, like, I don't just and I'd say I got a lot of buddies and customers that could say, like, with confidence that I am this way, but, like, I don't hold, like, money as the highest standard in the world. Like, um, I hold I hold my freedom and happiness and family and all that probably just above money. You gotta have money to live, obviously, and we all love money and toys, but, like, um, making it to me might mean something different than the next guy. If that makes any sense at all,
No,
I
it
don't know.
totally does, uh, and while I have an inside perspective, I'm an outsider. I'm not part of Blue Rock in any way other than we're buddies. Um, but I feel like Blue Rock as a tackle company uh, has legitimized itself in the industry uh, for Ohio at the very least. Um, but like you said, you've sold in all lower 48. Um, I mean, I've been to shows and I've talked to some of the highest level pros that are out there that um, love your products, reorder your products, regularly use them, and so for me, like talking to those guys, seeing those guys, hearing, hey, so and so just placed another order of such and such. Um, that's when it kind of sunk in for me. Like, dude, Blue Rock's kind of a big deal, right? Like, it,
Yeah,
and you're humble enough that you're probably just going to downplay it and be like, no, you're right, but we're still just a little tackle shop down in my garage down here in the hills.
yeah. I mean, I do keep it humble because it is a humble little business, and we're from a humble little region of Upper Appalachia where, to be God honest with you, man, you don't have to make a ton of money to live decent in these parts. But um, like you're saying with some of the bigger name tournament guys, and um, it's a cool place to be for our business, for sure. Um, and like our buddy Nick Folks, he's kind of in the same boat. Like he's got some really high end, big name customers. Like if you've got a good enough little spinner bait or a good enough jig where a guy with a big sponsor patch from a big nationally known name on his jersey comes and buys yours just because he thinks they're a little better and is using them behind the scenes, like, yeah, that's a freaking dream of a place to be. um but I guess, like, it's weird because it's almost become like normal to me, or I just don't let it go to my head, like, because you get around, talk to a lot of these guys, they're just normal dudes and um, just like us. But it is cool, man. It's a cool place to be, but at the same time, like I don't think like that means you've made it, uh, or anything. It just because it they're definitely all not using them, but they're
Right.
we've made some cool friends.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, it's
no,
it's it's neat.
and going to the shows, like just as not even working a booth, but like just going to the shows and uh, as a consumer, like you'll stop by a booth and they're name dropping like, oh, so and so bought these and said it's the best thing on the planet, um, and they're really kind of using that to validate their products. Um, and I've never heard you do that once,
No, I don't like the name drop. That's definitely not my style. That goes back to like just just relax. Like I think we've got plenty of time. Like I'm not quite 40 yet. I'm definitely close to 40, but I've got time. Like, like our buddy Gary Vee says, 40's nothing. 40's the best time to start a business.
right?
So, because I found like, and this may be what helps, like, because I try to think about it, man. Like, what the hell is it that like has helped us like stick around? Because you see so many of these small time bait makers like me like start up and then like a year or two goes by and they just kind of disappear, and a lot of it's because they're trying to undersell someone like me that's got to charge $5 or $6 for a jig because now I'm paying taxes and I have to mark up for wholesale and like, but they're selling them for $2 under the table, but just to sell them, but they're also not making any money. So, like from a
So
business side of that,
they're just
like
in a cycle.
yeah, they're just in a cycle, and I was stuck in it for a few years until I was like, "You know what? Like, we gotta either make a move here, um, because you gotta get legal." And people ask a guy asked me on a podcast, like, "So, why does one of your products have to be $5 or $6, or why does a Strike King have to be $5 or $6, but, you know, uh, Bob down the road makes jigs 4 for 10 for me or something. But it's a whole, we could have a podcast like on the nuts and bolts of it alone. But when you go to wholesale, like a store wants 40% right off the rip. So if you're selling a jig to the open market for $2, well, there went
Now you just lost 80 cents.
80 cents, so now you're selling a jig for $1.20, so that's a big part of the price jump, but, there's excise taxes, which tons and tons of guys don't pay that make tackle. They try to convince themselves that, it's not a real thing, but it's basically a 10% tax on anything you manufacture, and, like, it is real. Like, I've spoken to the IRS firsthand about it, um, just through the years of learning and getting legal, and uh, and we've got employees and just whatever payroll taxes and payroll and like that's how the products, the prices get to where they got to be for there to be just a little bit left over at the end to keep the business going. And a lot of times that's all there is enough to do. Like maybe Jesse doesn't even get a paycheck at a certain, slow point of the year or whatever. And a ton of small businesses are that way. So, and there's no shame in it. It's just like for the people that don't understand, I try to explain to them like, and that's why I'm so appreciative of the people that do get it and do support us, just for us, being here and trying to do things the right way and put a decent product in your hands. And like, I don't want to leave that behind. Like, man, like the support we've had, just starting with friends and buddies, and um, I hate to
Well,
even say names because there's been so many people along the way, but extremely
well,
local here. Go ahead.
not only just the friends and the family, but like even the retail, the store owners, like
Mhm.
um, they like I saw a post, I don't know, maybe 2 3 weeks ago. Uh, Small bait maker said, you know what, like I just need to get in a store. that's my ticket. Like, just give me a shot, right? But like, even to the store owners, like, you've got to do things the right way. You've got to
Yeah.
produce good products, stand behind your products, um, and then those opportunities come. And by doing it the right way is the only way you're going to get in those places. And then by getting in those places, your brand grows.
Yep.
Um, and
Yep.
so it's been a grind for you, but um, just keeping that mentality of doing everything right to start, uh, just it just starts picking up a little bit of steam here and then you get where you're at.
Yep.
Uh, so
Yep.
so I guess what's next? Like,
Um,
obviously you're going to keep doing what you're doing, but like, where would you like to see Blue Rock in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
like, um, obviously I want to keep growing it. I just, I want to continue to like evolve our plastic side. I want to get everything custom there, like Blue Rock exclusive products, and just continue to evolve. We've got a little hybrid football slash ball head um, jig, kind of like a little. It's almost like a football jig version of the 1099. I just got prototypes. A lot of people see us as a jig company, so I can't ever forget about like those roots I was talking about. Um, we got to be solid right there, but at the same time, we got to keep evolving. Um, I like to release 2 to 3 new products a year. We've gotten to the point where I can't just, if Do It Molds comes out with a new mold or whatever, like I can't just buy it today and start selling them on Facebook marketplaces tomorrow. Like we've gotten to the point where like I have to get it made into a production mold and make sure I've got a good little inventory built up before I can even release the product, because if 10 stores want it instantly, like you want to have it available to, or 20 stores, or whatever, like
Yeah.
you don't want to release a product and not have it. So um, try to release 2 or 3 new products every fall. Like I mentioned, though, back to your question, like I want to work really hard to I want to have a trailer to complement every jig we sell. I want to have a really good like 4-inch beaver creature flipping style bait, which I think will be next on the docket after we get this little uh, crawl trailer for the Ned for the triple threat and the 1099. Uh, so, and I think just continue to build that brand, man. Like I think it's going to take care of itself if we're patient and we just keep hustling and treating people right. Um, I don't
Well,
really know where it's gonna be. I hope
well,
somewhere.
yeah, I feel like Ohio, like I said, like you're from Ohio, people around Ohio that fish competitively kind of know of your stuff. Um, you're in tons of stores around the state. You're starting to branch out into kind of the surrounding states. Is there a plan to either go through some sort of like wholesaler warehousing type deal, or um,
You know, I don't know if I wanna go that route quite yet. Like, I've really enjoyed, building the relationships with the stores, like, and selling directly through here. Now, I know if you grow, like if there's, like, a mass explosion and, like, orders are just coming at will, you definitely gotta hire a third party to kinda, just keep, you know,
take
basically
some of that
keep.
out for you?
Yeah, they're just gonna keep the purchase orders coming, and your job at that point is just to get product out the door, but, like, we've we've got low enough overhead, and like I said, I've grown the business slow enough to where, like, the pace we're picking up new stores and the pace that the online sales have gone up, like, um, I can still manage, um, that new, backwater store, in Lexington, Kentucky. Brad, he called me today, made another order. I love that. They can call me, get me, um, don't have to worry about if a sales guy or a rep's getting along with them well or stopping in or whatever, but, um, I'm aside from maybe having a big, like, warehousing company, like, I'm not against the thought of just having a rep or 2 if they know our product good enough. Um, and I've got a buddy that kinda helps out a little bit now, but it's nothing crazy. It's more like if I know he's gonna be in an area, I might have him swing in somewhere and, um, have a chat with somebody if I can't make it, but, um, yeah, so, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep letting that all happen as it happens. I think's the best way to do all that and just,
No,
um
and you've done a tremendous job just letting it happen organically. Um, like I said, the more naturally that it just spreads and awareness of the brand grows, like
yeah.
uh, stores are picking you up.
Yeah, it's cool, man. We're definitely in some staple stores here in the region. And I can't say enough like how it goes back to just friends and buddies and people just rooting for me. I don't know, they might have just been rooting for me because they felt bad and thought it was a pipe dream. Because like I just I don't know. Some people still root as hard as they did in the beginning. Some you don't hear rooting for you quite as much, but uh, w- we meet new friends, and man, I don't. It's just been such a fun ride, like uh, to this point, and I hope it just continues to be fun because other than like it cutting into my fishing time a little bit more than I want it to, like it has been really fun. Like, dude, it really is a dream job once you get it to where, like, it is providing some actual income, just enough to live, like, but until you get it to that point, it's still fun, but it's still a hobby too.
Yeah. Well,
But,
it takes on headaches of its own, like once you get to that level, right? Like I always dreamt of just being self-employed, being a business owner, uh, and just providing money for my family, just doing what I want to do. And then I
yeah,
got to that point, and then it was like, all right, well, this is a legitimate business. Like now I
right,
have accounting and payroll and everything that
yeah.
goes along with that, uh, and then that evolves, and then you have more employees, um, and so it's a blast. Don't get me wrong. It's just
Yeah, and I've never been a fan of, like, the guys that say, like, "Oh, don't turn it into a job, and then you won't enjoy it anymore." Because that's so not true. Like, who doesn't wanna, like, do something they love for a job? Like, I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? This is better than plowing snow and cutting
right.
trees and on the in the medians in the summer." Like, I think that's an easy cop out for a guy that never took a risk but always wanted to. Like,
Yeah,
'cause you'll run into guys that always have something negative to say, like, and probably even more behind your back about like how that's never going to work or this or that, and um, but that those type of people are, in the big scheme of things, like they're not the people that I like to surround myself with, anyways. It's just you know the
but
supportive people that we have are like, that's who I care about.
And I think that's a great opportunity to have you tell our listeners, because we have people that listen to this that don't fish or don't want to own a tackle company. Um, like, what is some advice that you could give them, uh, just based on your path, the risk you took, um, the challenges that you faced, kind of getting started? Like, what would you tell them?
Oh, geez, I could tell them a lot. Probably the biggest thing is like, it goes back to what Whitney said a couple podcasts ago. Is like number one is like surround yourself with people that elevate you. Um, if you got people in your life, sometimes it's even family or someone you maybe thought was a friend that maybe makes a call, or just a random person that makes a comment to maybe downplay what you're doing or saying they could have done that, but they just, haven't, or get that person out of your life. Like find positive, supportive people um, that, care about you, and more importantly, like genuinely care about them too. Like I think that's how the universe works. Like the more energy you put into actually caring about things or a business or people, um, the more it's going to give back to you. Um, and just right along with that, like as far as a business goes, like if you're willing to grind hard enough at anything in life, even if it's, picking up pop cans on the side of the road, like you can be successful at it. Uh, and that doesn't mean like kill yourself in the process. Like you can't force it, but you might have to be patient. But like take me for example, I worked my day job as long as I possibly could. There were 2 or 3 or 4 years where, like, it was literally taking a toll on me and, my relationship and everything, but I pushed it to the absolute limit where I was gonna have to make a decision, like, I either gotta take this leap or I don't, and, I did it. So, just take calculated risks, surround yourself with positive, supportive people, um, have some faith in a higher power, and don't hit the booze and the drugs too hard, and uh, you'll be good.
Well, and this is a great time to just one, thank our wives. Like, I know my wife listens to every episode. I'm not sure if Sydney does or not, but I mean, without them and their support, we couldn't be doing the things that we're doing, and I certainly wouldn't be down here um, doing a podcast or planning a fishing expo or any of the other things I've got going on without her support. But also, like, our friends that listen to the podcast, the guys and the girls that are just they're in our corner supporting us, and they want to see us succeed, and they're giving us feedback. And so from both Jesse and I, we want to thank you guys, because I mean, you guys truly mean the world to us, and we couldn't do what we do without you guys. So there's my little sappy moment, and but we truly mean it. So thank you guys for what you do. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Well,
but
hopefully I don't know. I rambled a lot tonight, and I didn't probably hit quite as much detail, but it's an in general kind of where I'm at with what we got going with Blue Rock. So
no,
uh,
I think it's really cool though, because you talked a lot about the business side of it, and how the business and the personal struggles are there, and we talked a little bit about the baits, um, and that's cool, because I mean, it really gives people kind of a behind the scenes of
well, and that
uh,
that kind of I'm not a shove a product in your face type of guy anyway. So, if people are interested, they can go take a peek or
They'll find it.
Whatever. That's kind of how we've always approached everything. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And it's not bluerockcustomtackle.com. It's bluerocktackle.com. So
what did I say that?
no,
Oh,
episode
okay.
one.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I got you. Got you.
episode one, I beefed it up. So
Oh man,
bluerocktackle.com. You can check out everything he's got. And
sabotage me for one of my nemesises there, or
right.
what?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Well,
well,
cool, man.
yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing everything, and uh,
No.
thanks everyone for tuning into another episode. And you can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. And again, we drop them every week. So let us know what you'd like to hear. We do talk a lot about bass, but uh, that's changing. I mean, we talk kayaks and muskie and steelhead, and we'll have some walleye guys on here soon. But yeah, follow along and tell us what you want to hear.